I don't know, something to do with their star system.
49.
Liver.
Hey, everybody. It's Carrie with the Joyride Show, and Tiffany and Carrie and Sarah. And we haven't been on, at least Tiffany and I have not been on in quite a while. So we thought we would get the girls together, get the tribe together, and talk about everything happening. I mean, I think maybe we've done one show in the last 4 months, maybe 6 months.
Yeah, it's been kind of quiet, and we kind of talked about like not knowing what to say. We're all dealing with all of this uncertainty and change and quarantine in our own way, and we thought, well, who better to have our our silver linings, Carrie, and our doing grief differently, Sarah, to come on and kind of spread their little sparkle pixie pink dust. God, I can't say it. Just how everybody's doing, how we're handling this, and some insights and some lessons learned and the big ahas as we're all kind of going through this together. So yeah, I think this will be fun.
I think it will be too. And I want to start this by saying, I don't know, something shifted with me recently, and I feel very peaceful. And I read the other day that we had I think we had 2 eclipses, and the 8/8, August 8th, which is the
Lion's Gate.
And now we're in a new moon, new cycle. So that was about shedding and being kind of blasted. And now it's about creativity and bringing in new ideas and wisdom and ahas. So these things.
I'm going to start this. This isn't necessarily a bone I'm picking, but I feel like sometimes we give that kind of stuff too much power, because I could read those messages just about every month and they could be relevant to me. I have been changing and for years now. So sometimes I feel like, it's the Lionsgate portal. Let's take care of all of our shit. It kind of makes me feel like we give our power to those kinds of things. However, having said that, if it's like a whole collective belief that it's going to change us, we actually can create it. But what do you girls think about that?
Yeah, which came first, the chicken or the egg? The
stuff. Well, because it's a human construct. The calendar is a human construct. So why is it that we get to shift on August 8th because it says 8/8? You know what I mean? Go.
For me, it's not that. For me, and I totally get it, because Charles is like, what is this from the stars, and you're an Aries and therefore blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And that just seems so random. So that was sort of a random thought. But for me, it's not. I was so uncomfortable in and I was just, it's like my skin was turned inside out and somebody was sandpaper. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I started seeing patterns that I hadn't seen in a long time, but I could feel like things came from the background and sort of came in and crystallized, and it just made sense to me. And I do think that there are cosmic things happening that kind of either activate or they help bring stuff up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like that. Planetary, like it supports the system, our energies. We know on full moon, there's crazy things happen, more births, different things like that. So we know that there is an ebb and flow. If you just recognize it and kind of go with it instead of resisting it, then maybe you won't notice it if you just go with it.
I guess that's it then, because I've never put any stock into that sort of thing. I've never given my power to the Mercury retrograde and blamed all my shit on that. I never gave it to the power of the moon. If I fuck up, I fuck up. It's got nothing to do with this. That's just me though. I mean, because it's like you just take your own things, your own talismans, your own beliefs, and you make them work for you. So there's no right or wrong answer. I'm not being judgmental on those that do follow that stuff. Just kind of maybe offering a perspective to those that don't, because at the beginning of my journey, I always felt like I was behind and I had to, dip my toes into everything so I can be caught up and ascend, in a proper way, but there is no proper way. It's just an individual way.
Individual ascension is just going up and, well, it's like a slide. We go up and we down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah, it's like
a heartbeat, it's the rhythm of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Tiffany, we have to tell them about the Good Witch.
There's a Hallmark TV show called The Good Witch, and Carrie sent me a little link the other day saying, oh my gosh, watch this. And it was a clip. One of the characters was a doctor, and he has a patient come in, and he says, what are you here for? And she says, I have FOP. He's like, you have this incredibly rare genetic disease, fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva? And she's like, yes, what are the chances? And he's like, well, 1 in 2 million, actually. That's the condition that my son has. He's like one of a couple hundred people here in the US that has this incredibly rare genetic condition. And that was so sinky. And Carrie and I watched the clip, and I shared it with my FOP community, because we love it whenever there's a mention, especially when they get the facts right and they do it positively, and it's not, ew, gross. You know, it's factual and it's uplifting. And then Carrie sends me yesterday, a little further on in the show, she finds a symbol, and it's the heart with the infinity sign going through the middle of it, which is our Joyride show infinite love symbol.
And
so we've had so many sinky moments with this show. We've been talking about you, Sinky Sarah, because this infinite love heart. Carrie and I are experiencing a ton of synchronicities right now. I mean, just
look at
all
the card
over the place.
The card I pulled was for today. I just pulled right before we started, synchronicities.
Synchronicities.
When we're in the flow, we notice I have crazy stories every day. You know that. I do, but some of them are like, I try to tell Carrie, and she gets lost in them sometimes, right? It's just like, and it just keeps going and going.
I want to tell the story of my white dress. Can I tell that story real
Sure.
quick? I was a couple weeks ago, going to a memorial for a child, and the moms that were going, we all decided to wear white. And I had a pair of white jeans and a kind of a white t-shirt, I wanted a flowy white dress. But it's in the middle of the pandemic. I'm not going to go shopping for a flowy white dress. And I was talking to Carrie. She's on her way back from going to the lake to see her mom. And as she's driving, I tell her, like, oh, I wish I had a flowy white dress. She's like, well, I have 3 in my suitcase. And we figure out that she's going to be passing the intersection where I'm going to be going to meet at like exactly the same time. Because I had asked the universe, like, that's going to be really interesting. How are you going to get me a flowy white dress if I'm not going to the store? Like, how is that going to happen? This is going to be interesting to see. And I'll be damned if we didn't meet up at the parking lot. And I put on the dress, and I went to this beautiful service, and I thought, that's really cool.
And
that's
it fits you perfectly.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
This is almost a 3-hour drive, and I was driving back, and
she had 3 for me to choose from in her suitcase.
Just throwing white things in my bag. Like, am I bringing 3 pair of white pants and 2 long flowy dresses? And it's like, this is really bizarre. And I truly, because I had a COVID scare and I needed to get out of my parents' house, and so I threw all my stuff in the car and left, again, 3 or 4 days before I was supposed to. And anyway, that was really cool.
Right. When we have less resistance, we go with the flow, and then you see those synchronicities over and over.
Sarah,
creating our reality.
Sarah's been saving these syncs for me.
I know, but I can't remember a lot of the details.
Denise and Michelle, you had, and with Autumn, and all these things were happening.
When we did a Zoom, we had a Zoom channeling. Channel panel the other night, and it was Denise and Michelle and I, and there were we had guests from our groups come in on it. And while I was getting ready, I put on a pair of my mom's earrings. Now, Mom passed, I was pregnant with Adam, so 34 years ago. And I thought, maybe she'll come in for a message. Even though I was going to be one of the channelers, I still look forward to all those syncy messages or piggyback messages. So we start the event, and there are sisters that we don't know that joined the group, and they were hoping to get a message from their mom who just passed. And Denise kept saying, yellow flowers, yellow flowers. And she goes in deeper, because you got to dive into it, and all this is coming up. And I go, I think that's for me, because my mom always planted the large lemon yellow marigolds every year around the house, all the way around the pool and the house every summer. And that has always been my sign for her. And so I'm not going to say anything, because I don't want to interrupt this beautiful message she's giving these sisters. And then she goes, well, did she pass from cancer? And the girls say, no, it was diabetes. And I said, oh, my mom died of cancer. I know that message is for me, but I don't want to interrupt, because, the messages blend purposely, right? So it keeps going. And then afterwards, I didn't even click about the earrings too. So I said, well, I don't want the light on me. This is for everyone else in the group. So then afterwards, I sent a message about it. And then Autumn, who's also in the group, she made a post. She shared some beautiful messages and things that have happened, Sinky stories that have happened to her. She posts some funny meme of a man and a woman who had, it was just made up, photoshopped, of putting the wife on the back of the car, the trailer hitch for the wheelchair. Okay. But with her in it. So it was like Aunt Edna, from Chevy Chase's Vacation. It was similar to that.
Up on the roof.
So I read it, and I didn't catch it. And so I'm thinking about Aunt Edna, and I'm reading the post again. And the couple in the post were Marjorie and Fred, which was my parents' name.
No way.
Okay. So it was like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. And so I commented and I said, oh my gosh, this ties right into the message from just hours ago about all of this. And then I read further into it, and then something was said, and then a reply came back from Autumn, and Autumn's cat had recently passed, named Bud. My dad's nickname was Bud. Okay. So it was like, oh my gosh, it all just kind of fed. It just kept going for hours. The synchronicities of that through my parents, it just kept going and going. So that's kind of like a daily occurrence for me. I mean, it always has, but usually it's like an hour or two and then it's done. But this just continues. So then it just feeds more into the story, and it ends up being a whole chapter involving everyone else.
Isn't that amazing?
Like,
We're all connected.
Like a whole group of guides, they're all got to put their 2 cents in. That's why it kept going.
Yeah, it just kept going. And then a funny one from one of the sessions I had this week from a member, and it kept coming up, and it was the guys coming in and talking about everything was comparing to eggs, how we're all eggs. Some of us are hard boiled, some of us are fragile, and then all the different egg dishes and all the things we do, are we hard boiled or we're, the hard shell? And then the image of Rocky one, where he's cracking the eggs, into his protein drink.
Drink them raw.
Like, remember all that?
Yeah.
And so what impact that made on me. And she goes, oh, well, I like raw eggs in my smoothie. So I said, okay. So I just laughed through it. We continued through the whole session. We finished. As soon as I got through, I went for a quick walk, sat down, turned the TV on. The episode was a Western. He is standing there, and he had a warm draft beer. He takes the egg out of his pocket and he cracks it into the beer, gulps it down. And I'm just going like, what? I had to rewind it.
Yeah.
And video it. And it's like, I have never seen a cowboy ever do that in any cowboy show ever. And then a moment later, a little girl comes up and she pulls out of her pocket 2 eggs. And she goes, here. And I was like, what? Of all the Westerns I've watched in my entire life, I've never seen
it's egg themed.
Eggs.
Okay. So Tiffany and I were talking about this very thing yesterday. I mean, a little bit different, but we were talking about how things happen, but we don't know why. Like, okay, clearly somebody is communicating with you, but is it just to communicate, or is there something behind it?
I think it's
they're just God winks. I'm here. I'm doing a little trick to let you know I'm paying attention.
Have fun with this. Yeah,
But
let's play with it.
Can I share my Sinky story? I
Sure.
gotta find. This was from a few months ago, and you guys have all heard it, but they haven't heard it. And they have if they watch my show, but just quickly, and I won't go into all the details, but my guides were showing me, I had a reading, and they were talking about one of my past lives through the Akashic records, blah, blah, blah. And the theme of it was I was an Aborigines boy, and we were being persecuted by bad guys, and our only option was to hide. And what we did was we climbed up one of those plateaus in Australia, and we were hoping that would be high enough or remote enough for them to not find us, but they did. And my whole village, they would basically just push us to the edge so we'd fall off and become injured and just die a slow death at the base of this plateau. But I was a young boy, and I said, fuck that. And I ran as fast as I could and jumped as far as I could. So I died on impact. And that was the message I was given, was don't wait for life to happen to you, because it will hurt. You take that jump and you remove yourself from that situation. Well, it was a week later, and I was homeschooling with my kids, and the week of that reading, that message, we were studying apartheid in South America. Well, the following week, we jumped right into the oppression of the Aborigines people, and my whole body electrified. And another reason for all of this Australia connection was because that current conundrum had to do with a trip to Australia. So just all of these synchronicities tying in with the boy, and then the place, and then the school lesson was just like, you know, Carrie, we're slapping you in the face with this one. Pay attention. And I sure did. That was a fun one.
Okay, so I challenge you.
Yes.
To go into that timeline. To go in, and I'm not talking about the past life. I'm talking about the timeline. I mean, that was the instant hit I got. It's go into that timeline and play out that story. So just what I'm seeing is there's this connection, obviously, to Australia, and there is a Carrie in an alternate spot living something out there, and I'm curious what that is. I mean, it's you, Carrie, here, and I'm just curious what that is, because all of these timelines, and I don't know that you're not somehow tapping into a timeline, and that's where they're going. Let's see, you know. Let's see what happened, and but release what you think it is and just let it unfold. Does that make sense?
Well, I kind of have put it together, and to be honest, they were trying to warn me about something, and they're like, if you want to spare, and I've already done it because I've repeated my experience twice with another person. So when on the original experience, I didn't have that warning. I didn't jump off that cliff and my heart was devastated. So the next time around, I heeded that warning. So that's really all it was about, was to just, you know, it didn't really have anything to do with going to Australia. It was all about me not waiting for somebody to break my heart and just see it for what it is. Just stop. So.
But what if we can play in these, and I'm not pushing that, this just is another thought. It's like, what if, so David McCready, Tiffany and I've talked to him several times, and I had a session with him a while back, like a couple months ago. And he said, by the way, he said, there's an alternate timeline where like there was a big explosion, like kind of apocalyptic type thing. And he said, you died, me, like in the 80s, and then I was reborn. And he said, the you that is reborn is about, I don't know, 7 or 8 now, and she doesn't have a mother, and so she's aware of you, and she's having a really hard time because she's aware of so many things. And can you go be a mom to her, just like love her, redo her, cuddle her, and she needs that just to kind of get her through so that she can grow up and be who she's supposed to be. And so like I was kind of playing with her for a while, and when I go in with him, we both kind of compare notes. What do you see? What, you know, because he can see it so clearly. And I think, I guess that's sort of what I mean. And because I've been playing with these ideas of timelines, and I've been playing, and they're just fun. They're just other stories to read, or I mean, like to kind of vibe out on.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, you know what I've been doing? I've been healing from a past life, and I don't know anybody that knows their past life story as concretely and detailed as I do. And I know there's other people out there, but you know, clearly this life was meant to heal that life. So I've been spending time going back to that other version of myself, and, you know, just loving on that poor 14-year-old girl that had to go live this, you know, this shitty life. And it gets really emotional. I mean, I will like physically hug myself and be in that place of hugging her and just crying, I love you, baby. It's okay.
And look at the timing of it with Layla close to that age too.
Yes, that is definitely.
To help you to understand more.
It's sex trauma, it's young girl sex trauma. So yeah, that has not gone unnoticed, that, you know, I'm having empathy for, well, not empathy, but just, I guess gratitude, knowing that my daughter won't have those same, you know, trials and tribulations I had. She'll have her own, but she's not going to have the same I did.
Does it change the way you feel, the way your energy, your vibe, when you go love on your 14-year-old alternate version? Do you feel more empowered and more mothered and more loved and more connected?
I do. And you know what? Since we're on this right now, I just got to, again, give Carrie this big, huge hug, because she just totally dropped a huge bomb of support on me when I didn't even realize I needed it. I got to talk about this in my next video, so I'm not going to do it right now because I'm already getting emotional about it. But yes, and I really believe that the healing that's coming here just helps that other version of me. So thank you, Carrie, for being sweet. I'm going to just go ahead and brag about all that stuff on my next show.
Oh.
No,
Well, Tiffany, that's what you do. What comes up when you're doing your tapping?
Yeah.
Going back to your child.
say that's why
self.
my hands
Yeah.
were like that. You go back and you that's what she did for me is there was a very, very specific time in my life, and Tiff said, I mean, this is when we first started, like when I first met you, and I talk about this a lot, but I was having dreams like 3 nights a week that my husband left me, and I had like, what am I gonna do with these kids, and what am I gonna do? And it's like I go back to, and Tiff helped me locate that exact spot where that line initiated and fell into place, and she rewrote it. I mean, we went in and completely rewrote it.
Yeah.
And I got you, sister.
And that's what my
It's
post
good.
is about this morning that I made like a couple hours ago. So you guys can all look at my post from this morning.
Oh, just about, it's kind of matrix re-imprinting.
About the energies, not supporting our old version of ourselves that we're all rewriting. You know, like Carrie helped me rewrite my, going through Adam's death. She
that's
took
right.
me. You took me on that trip to Colorado to rewrite. I vowed I would never go back there. So yeah, it's very healing.
Sarah's the best about
healing.
that. Love that.
Well, and you don't always know what, other life, past, future life is impacting. But I think if most people will go into the experience, the feeling of it, at least I do, I get visuals of another time and place where something's playing out.
Yeah.
And I follow the story and kind of, like you said, Carrie, heal that version of that story, or take the lessons from it, or see the
current patterns and stuff.
Yeah, the current, see that.
Uh-oh.
Somebody's calling.
Oh, there you go.
You're back.
What if you were living that life? What would it feel like? What would you experience? What filter would you have and say, oh wow, I'm totally different from this perspective, but I have compassion for all the people that are in that spot now. I don't know, for me, living these alternate parallel lives just helps me see it all from different perspectives.
But that's what the guide showed me that day. I mean, it is. I mean, I was there. And I talk about that a lot too. But where up above are these, in this place that I was at, there were all of these fiber optic cables, and they were showing how you heal something in the past, you heal it in the future. But what I didn't realize till you just said this is that it wasn't just one line going to each person, it was just infinite amount. And and they said, yes, when you heal a trauma here, it zoop back, to 1825, and it zoop to 2095. And so
but that goes back to the concept that we are all one, just experiencing it through your set of eyes in this particular 3D reality. But we're all the same oversoul. We're all love. We're all coming from it. So when you get it, you put that into the experience, into the expansion of the universe, and we all get it. We all get it. So that's why they keep saying, if you want to change the world, change yourself, because you then gift that to the consciousness. And it's that 100 monkey effect, right? As soon as 100 monkeys develop a new belief or idea or habit, whatever, then it kind of just becomes ingrained in culture and consciousness, and it can go exponential. You don't have to physically have the experience. So be the 100 monkey.
Yeah, a lot of my experiences are through observation, and I do a lot of the twin stuff, and so I realize that the experiences I'm having with these people now that come and meet me, for my learning stuff, while there are triggers and there are actual things happening, because I have to get pissed off or whatever as Carrie, but it doesn't have to go to the extent that it did in the other lives. I only need a representation. And sometimes those representations are ugly enough, but I don't have to actually do them. So if I didn't have the knowledge of what we were doing, healing past lives, I would be baffled by my emotions towards certain people. Why do I feel that way about, what is that? But, I have the knowledge that I can apply it to somewhere else and work through it, and mitigate damages. I don't have to actually interact with these people that are triggering me.
See, but we've been saying that. How would we be going through all this change, the COVID, the quarantine, all the structures are breaking down if we didn't have this woo-woo? understanding of why it's all here for us, why it's unfolding and what it's doing for us collectively. Like, I can't imagine what I'd be feeling if I didn't have that perspective.
Exactly. And that's
Well, we
why
probably have felt that in other past lives. We've already been through that.
Right,
And so
right.
we've processed that so we could
and
be
we're
more of a
having
spiritual leader.
we're having such a pleasant experience with it. You know, it's like, you know, you said, so I've been there, I've done that. I don't need to learn that now. So while the people that do need to experience it, I'm riding along with their ride, but I get to float up here because I feel safe and I know it, you know, so I know that all four of us have had a pretty good quarantine. It hasn't been too bad.
You know, Carrie and I have been meeting like every week.
Yeah.
We don't share it publicly because we don't want people to, but
We don't want
you know,
to perpetuate fear and anger
Yeah.
because, you know, that's part of being the problem rather than the solution. So just to keep other people out of a place of fear, because we all feel that fear collectively. And, you know, if we're all doing it, we're all going to attract it. But, well, you know what I mean. But so I don't want to create fears in other people. So I just sort of keep that part a little bit private, less selfies.
Until
less
now.
selfies. More coffee, less selfies. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of it for me was apocalyptic. It was the idea of change. And everybody kept saying, and again, I am in this place and I have had this pattern my entire life of, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not buying what you're selling. And I'm not conspiracy theory. I mean, I'm not going down that road. I'm just saying what I have released recently. I mean, Tiff knows, all you guys know. I mean, it's like, I have just been so upset and I mean, I wear a mask and I'm careful and I'm, you know, going to see my parent. We didn't do the march because I didn't want to do that, then go to my parents at the end of the week, you know, I mean, so I'm taking it.
You should. Yeah.
I kind of forgotten. Tiff and I talked, and my niece surprised me and came over. My other niece and my great niece came over, and my nephew came over. And Tiff's like, "Are you quarantining?" It's like, "Shit, I forgot. I'm supposed to be quarantining." You know. And then I talked to my doctor yesterday, the same one that I was supposed to visit last week. They canceled me because I went to a hotbed at a lake, and I'm thinking Houston's more of a hotbed, and I mean they're serious. And this woman was saying that she like, what would she do if she's a single mom and she works at a hospital, and if she gets it, does her son go into foster care? She won't talk to him. She won't leave her house. She only goes to work. She comes home. And I'm thinking, how do you live in that fear? I mean, my heart,
That anxiety. Oh my goodness.
want to get with her. And so I know there are people doing that and still experience. And I kind of got it at the beginning because it was such an unknown. And it's still an unknown, but
Yeah.
weird how you can't nail that cat's tail to the ground. I mean, you just can't. It's all over the place.
Yes, you're right about that.
You know what helped with us? Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that is how it is. I went through a place of fear too with that because it was on no. What the fuck? But again, I'm going to go back to that message I got from Eric. You guys out there watching, is that just before all of this stuff happened, Earth closed, I had a reading with Heather, and Eric just volunteered. He said, listen, I got to tell you something. Something's going to happen with you and your friends, and you're not going to see each other for a while. But I don't want you to worry. I immediately went to, oh no, I'm going to have some learning.
You have a fight.
Fall out of vibration. No, that's what my fear was. He goes, don't worry, you're going to be fine. You'll see each other in a few months. But in the meantime, each of you is just going to be spending more time with your families. So I was like, okay. And then it wasn't like 10 days later that Earth closed. And I was like, that's what he meant. It had nothing to do with conflicts and learning. So that message there has really helped play a part in my feeling safe. So I appreciate that because, you know, what you fear, you attract. So I didn't have to worry about that kind of thing. Thank you, Eric. I love you.
Yeah.
It's nice to get a little heads up. And my husband and I, we've also run scenarios like, okay, if this happened, what would we do? And we kind of come up with a plan. Like, okay, well, if you get it, then we'll quarantine over here and, you know, we'll section off this part of the house. And, you know, we've just kind of run some scenarios. So it's not such this giant unknown. We have a little bit of a plan in place. I've redone my will. I mean, I'm actually kind of putting some plans in place, which, you know, and then that just helps me relax. Like, you know, like we've got a hurricane. We're right in the middle of a hurricane cone right now. And I wrote a post this morning. It's like, it may be a completely nothing event, or it may be dealing with a hurricane next week. We have no idea. That's the uncertainty we live in. It's like that with COVID. It may affect us completely not at all or devastating.
I get excited over the weather anomalies.
I know. So it's like we put our plans together. We got a generator. We got our air conditioning unit. We've got food. And then, okay, now that helps me relax when I have a little bit of a plan in place and we've kind of run a couple scenarios. And they're like, okay, well, it probably won't happen, but if it does, we've done the best that we can to prepare.
You got extra. What can that hurt, right?
And we go through this every year in the Houston area. We go through this every year, and sometimes we get blindsided right by the storm.
Yeah. True. But I feel like it's that with COVID, with the economy, with the elections, it's all so up in the air, so much change. And do you go this way or do you go that way? How's it going to impact me? And so we've, these big lessons, and there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to escape this. We're all being forced to collectively kind of look at this stuff and deal with it. And, I do feel very blessed. And that's another huge part of this is the gratitude for all of the support that I do have around me. And I know that a lot of people don't have that in place. So where can we be that for someone? Where can we help support someone through this that doesn't have that kind of support?
Mm-hmm. Because it's bringing up everyone's stuff, right? Right, Carrie Walker? It's bringing up everyone's stuff, being able to be more mindful, not worried about the future, because the future is still unknown, it's still wobbly. So just focus on now. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's it. That's what we're always being told all along anyway.
I can't go to Australia if I'm still in that place. I can't go there now. So what's the point of obsessing about it? It's right here, right now. And I have really come to that in many ways, because I know we talked last week and I gave you my story about last week, but I just mutate so quickly that's already come and gone. I'm on to something else. And part of the onto something else is really been allowed me to just focus and appreciate. I know we should have done this all along, and I did to some extent, but I'm so immersed now with just being grateful to be home and sit by my boy's side, Ryan. Both of my boys have like some ADD issues. I got one on drugs, the Vyvanse, and I don't like that. I don't want that for my next kid, but that works for him. This one, I'm the Vyvanse. So I'm just sitting next to him and prodding him and helping him and just being his cheerleader. And I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to just live in my now and be a good mama. So I'm not worried about any of those things in the future or other countries or anything else. I'm enjoying being right now. Finally.
Yeah. Right. You're helping Ryan with self-esteem, and that's the greatest gift you can give him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel this.
Isn't that so sweet?
I feel like the altercations in my house have gone from and it is everybody's getting what they need, and that time together. Our big thing that we've been doing, we've been watching Star Trek, and I've never really watched Star Trek, because if you watch the Discovery, you have to go back and figure out who Captain Pike is, and we started out with Picard, which is a great series, and then we got one or two into that, and Charles like, no, in order to understand that, we have to go back here. But I can't tell if Brandon Bradbury, if I think that's his name, if he channeled this stuff or it's been around so long that it's infiltrated into all of our psyches. But we're talking parallel universes. Anyway, I won't get off on that, but it's every day I call Tiff. I'm like, okay, so
this is what happened. Yeah.
And I was crying, and my sweet husband's always like, you're going to cry. Yes, there was this one where they had, like, 200 years from now, we had World War III, 200 years from our now. And somehow this entire group got transported to a different world that was very much like Earth. And they kept saying, but like all the technology had worn out. And they kept saying, I know there's more. I know there's more.
Wow. Should be.
Was in kind of a angels, and they kind of really gone more to this place of Jesus and Buddha, and they kind of had merged all the different Earth religions. But the science guy kept saying, I know there's more, and I know there are beings above us, and I can't prove it. And he was like the conspiracy theorist. And then there's the prime directive that you can't, if a civilization isn't to a certain point, you can't tell them, because it messes with the evolution of their process. And so anyway, they had to beam them out, and they're like, look, they're angels, and they were just beaming them out. And so they came back, and he came back, and they were like, it's so unfair that he really does know, and it's making him crazy. And we have the answers. And they're like, but we can't, you know, I mean, it's just the law. And anyways, but they kind of found a little way around that. And the guy said, that's all I need to know. I mean, and they basically said, yes, we have a ship and we fly among the stars, and no, we're not angels. We're just regular people. And I'm like, that's pretty much the way it is.
I had that same interview with Pulsar. They're like, people used to worship us because we were flying beings, but we're just ETs and we can't interfere because you have to have evolution. It's the same ting.
Sicky.
Remember at the Silver Linings, were you there when it was Birdie that was going on and on and on about Star Trek?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he was fascinated. He's like, I gotta watch this show. I don't know if that ever happened or not. Heather probably has him watching zombies or something instead.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to check it out. I only know the 60s version of Star Trek.
Oh, I'm not saying it gets
Kirk.
Trekkies that would like chop it off. It is.
Kirk went. Did Kirk go today?
No.
Uh-uh.
What?
I saw that post that Kirk went on to heavenly pastures. I don't know. You know, the internet always tells the truth. So I'll have to investigate this.
Do you remember Mork? Didn't he do nanu? And didn't they do it like this? Wasn't that like the
I
handshake?
don't remember that, but that looks a little sexy.
Charles, I said, you know, because I couldn't think of the Spock of Vulcans. They always say, you know, live long and prosper. And
Right.
they do that. And I'm like, you know, nanu, that. And Charles like, nanu? Like, no, Mork and Spock, nothing alike.
One lives on Sarah's egg, and the other one lives on the Enterprise.
That's right.
Okay, I'm not seeing anywhere that William Shatner's
No.
passed, so we're just gonna remove
Yeah, it
that
doesn't
from
feel right.
consciousness right now.
Debunked.
Debunked. Well, I should have just asked Sarah. Like,
Yeah,
Sarah,
it didn't feel right, but I was like, let me think. I'll maybe feel into it.
Okay.
I love being able to call Sarah when somebody passes or something's going on. I'll call Sarah. Like, what are they saying? What's the take? And
Ooh, I got a message from Donald Trump's brother the other day. I can't remember it now, but it was like,
what was the gist
what
of
are you
it?
doing here? It's like,
What was the gist
it was
of it?
more like manipulating votes, that his brother's good at manipulating votes, but that's part of his role. That's what it was. And I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about politics.
No, I don't want to talk about politics. It is, but I feel very.
But that's what politicians do. So,
Why am I?
Right, exactly.
That's kind of the
it's like-
definition of politics.
Sarah, thanks for the message, but I could have.
yeah, it's like, oh no, I don't want to talk to you.
Oh, I know what it is. It's getting brighter outside. Hold on.
What's that girl doing now?
Well, no, it's getting brighter outside.
Oh.
It looks like a heavenly glow. Heaven's out.
You do. You have a halo.
Yeah, white
Well, we see a halo, honey.
Last night.
I'm kicked out of my studio because I got 2 kids on their laptops in my healing filming room. So I'm in my bedroom on the floor with a laundry basket for a desk.
There you go. Is the laundry basket empty?
No, actually, it's filled with my comforter because it's too hot. So I'll shove it there.
I love it. You could see behind the scenes what things really look like.
Yep.
Carrie duct taped her tape to the thing. You know, we're trying to just wing it in this home style. This
I
home
have
studio
pajama
style.
bottoms on. So
I do too. It's like a mall business on the top and I'm all
Right?
pajama
Yeah.
pants on the bottom.
I actually have real pants.
Okay,
on.
so
Shorts.
I found these and I just thought they were so pretty. And but they're towels. Doesn't it make a great shawl?
It's
I've
cute.
never seen towels with that pretty fringe on the
a
end.
little fringe on it.
Leave it to Carrie to
soft
wear
fringe.
and pull it off. You go, girl.
Pottery Barn outlet, and that's where they had them.
I didn't know there was an outlet.
Well,
Where? It's over by
Road
you?
trip. Road trip.
San Marcos?
Marcus, they have
Okay.
Sonoma. They have all of them. So yeah, we'll have to. Okay, can I tell you what happened?
Yeah.
Sure.
What happened?
It had just happened. I see I'm dark again. It had just happened when we did the show, like right before we did the show last week, which by the way didn't record. And so, or it recorded, but it didn't video. So we decided to redo it. So I talked about patterns. I had seen these patterns come up and I didn't like them. And I was so angry. I was angry at everybody, everything, angry at politics, angry at COVID. I kept saying, F you COVID, like every time I'd write it. And I just was like, I don't understand. want to be in this. And it's not that I'm afraid, and it's not that, it's just like, it's that feeling of there's something more going on and I don't know what it is. And then my mind goes down a rabbit trail, and I don't like conspiracy theories, but sometimes they just
Fit.
there's a space. So we start filling that space with other things. And I've actually realized that when I get upset with a person, I realize that's a pattern as I start making stuff up. And so I have to call them and talk to them, like do it immediately. Otherwise my imagination takes hold. I learned that. Anyway, doesn't matter. So I was really, really jacked up. Menopause is probably not a great time to go through COVID either. And I don't know if I'm in menopause yet, but I'm dancing on the threshold, probably too much, but my hormones really do.
Some people last for years.
Yeah. And it helps me identify things. I start seeing things that aren't working. So I think that's a blessing. But where I got so off track, I just didn't want to be here. And it's not in a I'm jumping ship way, because that's never my option. But I was telling Tim, I was like, I don't want to be here. And I don't want to manifest something to hop me off the planet. And I don't want to be here. I don't like this anymore. I'm ready to go. The party's getting a little too exciting for me. I'm ready to go home. And so what I sat, and how I connect is I write, as you guys know, and I write and I write and I write. And I haven't really been writing that much. I've been extremely 3D. And after writing, I realized who I connected to.
Who?
My husband's father. He had come through with Georgia, and she was like, I got this guy here and he's really loud. And he came through to give me advice on Charles, give me advice on my youngest son. And this is before. And this time, and then I find that I fight with him quite a bit. He's been apparently my father in many lifetimes. And I realized he was showing me, and we went through, and because I do believe that when you start feeling that resistance, that ick, that anxiety, start seeing, because I knew I was starting to fight with people and I'm starting to argue. And I think I was telling Tiff, it's like, I'm hard to be friends with. And she's like, no, you're not. It's like, kind of feel like I am. And that's where I was. And so I started going through all these different things. And it's like, oh my gosh, I see it. Somewhere, I was always called really, really sweet, really, really nice. And somewhere in my 20s, I discovered that kind of being a bitch was strength. Not really. It's the exact opposite, that people behave that way when they're in fear. And then I'd go to you, but I can't remember what my argument is, and I can't remember the details. And they said, yes, that's because you're not supposed to be arguing. This is a trait. But he helped me see it. And it's like, it was so cool because I let it go. I realized that I can't be a certain way and expect people to respond. Like, I'm going to be really grumpy and grouchy at you, and I'm going to tell you what's wrong. But I really want you to respond as if I'm kind and I'm nice.
Right.
Everybody.
An expectation, right?
And because people don't respond to me the way I want them to. So it's like, they said, look, you have 2 lists. Write down who you think you are, write down how you've been. Okay, which list do you want to draw from? I'm like, well, I want that list. Well, then that's the list that's where you go. You're not judgmental. Don't be judgmental. You're not mean. You're not, you want to help people. Then do it. So anyway.
There you go. You like the hard-boiled egg or the soft-boiled egg?
Back to the eggs.
Scrambled egg. We all know that.
What's that?
You're the scrambled egg. We all know that.
Well, you guys know I love Bashar.
Let's go to the egg and I, Carrie.
Okay.
Bashar, who's channeled by Daryl Anka, and back in December of 2019, he had said 2020 is going to be nuts. And he just emphasized, when you see this whirlwind swirling around you, you be this, stay in the calm center of your storm. So just like you said, go in and look for your patterns, do your work. But that kind of helps me too. Kind of like you said, when Eric gave you the insight that you're not going to see your friends for a while, but it's all going to be okay. Him saying it's going to be nuts, but it's to help us see all these patterns and do all this work. That's kind of helped giving me that reassurance. Like, this is nuts. And it feels nuts, but to stay in the center of your, like Carrie just said, go within and see and find your patterns, ask the questions, whichever way you connect. It feels so much better. we were snuggled up on the couch yesterday, and I think it was 2 nights ago. I was crying like happy tears. I was like, everything is so sweet. It's all unfolding. It's so loved. I'm so supported. I just feel like everything is as it should be. And that to me was my sign. Like, okay, for this moment, I'm in the center of my storm, and it's so sweet. So
Aw.
Being able to hold that, that's kind of like, that's
yeah, how long can I
my
ride this
saving
out?
grace, right? That's my saving grace. How hold it, because I know everything's going to work out.
But you
Have to
can't even
trust it.
hold it. It's like sand. You can't hold anything.
Just hold my center. Hold my
but just
center.
an awareness that it exists, that
Yeah.
calm center exists, is just an awareness. Like, okay, there it was. Oh, pass. Oh, there it is again. As we go through these mood swings.
When you're in the muck and the shitstorm started again, at least you can remember that you were in that place before. It was real for a while. It'll be real again. It's that up and down.
Yes.
When you're down, just remember it'll be okay.
It'll be up. Yeah.
Until you're in your storm, then you find the center of your storm. You go back into the storm and you come back to the center.
I don't like those kind of storms.
Nope.
I like the
We're all
hurricane
in it right
storm,
now.
but not the other storms.
Why does it take us so long? Like all of a sudden, it's sort of, I'm 49 years old. And once a month, it's like, oh.
It's that too.
Oh, I'm missing. Surprise. I mean, you've only been doing this, for 39 years. But why does it take us so long to remember? And I don't know about y'all, but sometimes in the middle of it, I don't want to go in and find happiness. I'm
Right.
Yeah, we do get comfortable in our shit sometimes. And it's like, yeah, you don't even want to pull out. And that's the worst. It's like you're comfortable in that place. That time, the amount of time I spend there has really dropped. I used to just be in there for weeks, months at a time, and not, because you learn, you get into that, okay, I'm just doing it again. I just dropped to that place of a lower vibration. Actually, I talked about this in my last video, and my friend Jane, she does QHHT. She wrote this article, and she's so smart and articulate that we're kind of teaching the same thing, but I'm doing it through all these, on my videos, and I'm always messing up my words and stuff. So she has the opportunity to edit her text just so. But what she said, and it made so much sense to me because I couldn't figure out why I kept going into this place of powerlessness. And the way she described it was that we have to drop back into the vibration of where our original traumas took place so that we can heal and peel and shed. So for me to keep falling back into this place when I'm smart enough to know better, I'm like, why am I having this fear again? 5 minutes ago, I knew everything was going to be okay, but now I'm afraid again and I can't shake it. So we have to fall back into that place.
It's just a habit of thought. Yeah.
And then, so I can pull myself out of that so much quicker now, because when I'm in this place of doom and gloom and the whole world's going to end, and like you were saying, Carrie, I just wanted to check out, because even though I love my family and I know I have good things ahead, I did not want to push through this lesson that I believed. I thought my path was here. It was here. When I thought it was here, I was like, I would rather not exist than have to do this. So recognizing that it's just a temporary place. If I was in such resistance, then I got to that's what that lesson was about, was to teach me that my resistance meant something, because there's a line between having to push through the muck and doing it anyway, despite wanting to check out, versus doing something that you don't want to do that is the wrong thing to do. You have to figure out which things you push through and which things you walk away from. And that's kind of a challenge. But at the end of it all, I feel like I'm on, this path to where I won't ever make the mistake and do the thing I'm not supposed to do. I just feel like I will find the way I'm supposed to go.
Right.
But that's the way I felt. That's what I felt like when we were texting back and forth. It is. And I knew that wasn't the time to tell you that, by the way, afterwards. I was in a fog, but it was, I loved, because your antenna kept telling you that. And I think everybody was, and I think for you to get the fact that, I think it's doing away with old patterns, and that was,
Oh yeah. There's that one lesson was, she went away. That one experience was so big. It had so many layers to it. I've learned so much, and it keeps going and going. When I had my surgeries, I went for like 6 months where I didn't really do videos. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't have anything to share about. They told me that was a time of healing and processing from all the shit I just finished going through. So then when it picked back up, I'm like, I can't do my videos fast enough, because so much change and so much stuff is pouring into me that it's just, it's a little overwhelming, but I appreciate it. I would really have my lessons come real quick and be done with it.
No, that's what I did. Don't do
Don't
that.
do that.
Well,
Don't do that again.
I have done that too, where it's so intense that you just feel like dying all the time. I've done that, but because it's not as intense as it once was, I'm glad to figure things out quicker. It's just through my experience and knowledge that I don't really have to do bad, horrible things. I just have to learn why I want to do them or why I think I'm going to, and then move on from that.
Yeah. The gift of this COVID is for all of us to break those patterns of thought, that we have to stay current. You know, we can't blame it on everyone else around. It's we create our reality, but it's kind of like we have to pause and reflect and go, oh, I never did like this house. I didn't like this relationship or whatever's going on, this job, and create the new, because we were so robotic up until this point.
Well, we're
You
so
don't even
distracted.
can change. You don't even know that you can escape
Right.
an oppression. You're so conditioned, and it's so hard to unpeel that stuff,
Right.
to take that stuff out.
And once you release, you're in that higher vibration, so your awareness expands. So you see those possibilities out there, where before it was like, I can't, I shouldn't, I don't deserve.
Yes. You guys experience this. For me, when I push through something big, it's like I only, I didn't know the first few years what was happening, but my heart thuds and my breathing is shallow, and I feel like the symptoms of anxiety without the crazy brain thoughts, but just the physical stuff. What I think is happening is that I've actually processed shit and raised my vibration.
Oh.
However, my body takes a while to acclimate to that. So in the meantime, I just feel like I got
Do
electricity.
your tapping. Do your tapping when you feel that, and just calm the body's fight or flight.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't have the mental anxiety, so I just really feel like it's just recalibrating. But do you have
yeah.
like that?
The body is usually the last to catch up.
Yes. And look,
because we don't want to change. We don't want to change our physical habits either,
Are you
So your
flipping us off
body-
with the wrong finger?
Oh, I'm showing you how.
Yes, I see it.
got,
It's
because
purging out of your skin.
Yeah.
So I see
Your
a lot
skin
of,
shows up your stress. Your skin shows your stress on your hands. Yeah.
The past
It's
month or
just-
so, the sessions have been coming up. A lot of people having their physical issues, but they have to go in and listen to their body. Saying, well, I said, what are your habits? What are you used to? If coffee doesn't agree with you anymore, listen to your body. Don't keep forcing it. Yeah, for you and I. But your body is going to change because the higher energy, because food is energy.
I've been doing a lot of Donna Eden's work too to help balance the body energies. And I really highly recommend her work, Donna Eden. It's all about energy as medicine, and she's got really simple techniques. Some of it looks like Tai Chi or meditation or breath work, but it helps, like you were saying, with the heart pounding and the anxiety feel. It helps calm all of that down, and they're quick and easy to learn, and little routines to add to your day that make a huge difference.
When we're done, just text me her name and I'll do my own research, but I'll forget.
Yeah.
I remember I was at odds with someone and I spoke with Ashley from the East City Ranch, formerly of the East City Ranch. And she said, where do you feel it in your body? What do you mean? She's like, where are you feeling this? She said, you're feeling it somewhere. And it's like, oh, I am in my stomach or, my solar plexus. And so I think we do. I think when you tune in, your body can be your complete lightning rod. I mean, it can be exactly. Ooh,
It's your instrument.
it must be, it must be whatever, or I'm feeling it here. That's pain. That's my heart pain. And, so it really, I think it's amazing when you start fine tuning.
Most of us take care of our vehicles better than our bodies.
I know, huh? Well, speak for yourself. You've seen my car. I got petrified from 10 years ago. But you know what? And Sarah knows this. When I was really in the deep of my muck, I had like a huge strain on my neck. So I was like this. And to compensate for that, I started walking a little crooked. So my back went out of whack. We went and had lunch. It was breakfast salad, whatever that is. On the way home, I had to pull over and throw up. My body was in such turmoil because of my emotional status. And then just a week later after process, because I said I'm doing things so fast, I just felt completely better just processing from the emotional stuff. My body corrected itself. So it just really, really packed on me that one time.
You'll notice it. Yeah, you'll notice it. Even though like sometimes when we do healings or group healings, and then I'll get a message from someone saying, you know what, my stomach, I just let loose afterwards. It was just because it was all built up in their sacral.
Absolutely.
Bashar thing last night, or I listened to it. It's on Gaia.
Gaia. I watched that one too.
And when they were talking about different people that during his sessions, they pass out, like completely pass out. And it's not, rock star Elvis stuff. It's just this energy's coming through and they can't handle it. And normally they're people that are pretty open and it's incredible. I was reading this morning that you can go in and and it's a visualization thing. And it's like with your DNA, like you imagine the double helix strand and you imagine them opening up like a flower and to receive this light, this energy, this stuff. And it is, and you can start really activating your DNA. I mean, I think that happens in a lot of different ways, the metaphysical side, which I think it's really interesting.
It's all cool.
Yeah, it really is. And I just, Carrie, I just really admire you for just your lightning speed. When you see
Got her foot on the gas.
the pattern, it's done.
I think they have surgery to slow me down. They had me had that hernia stuff because you're like, you will not slow down. I won't get the laundry put away. But my spiritual evolution, man, I am a go-getter. So they had to throw some, surgeries at me to get me to slow my roll.
And now a little COVID, actually a little quarantine time. So we're all slowing our roll now.
I still maintain that we are so distracted. I mean, I know that during regular times, I'm in the car 3 hours, 4 hours a day, picking things up, doing things, running, got to do this.
Soldiering around.
She's an Uber driver. You may as well be.
That's right. Pizza delivery guy.
And like we just finished our house, which is a wonderful thing. But it is COVID really like, you're done. And I just have learned so much. I mean, I've rediscovered my family in a different way. And I've, because when you are going so fast, we miss so much stuff and we're planning for the future and we're, taking care of things. But I don't know, we play cards, we hang out, we watch Star Trek every night. We swim every day. It's been in some ways. And I know I'm blessed. And I know there are people out there that I don't feel guilty. At one point I felt guilty that I am not in this hardship, but that doesn't do anybody any good. I mean, I think it's more responsibility of how do you help and what can you do? Because I think the more people that find their truth and find their way, the faster this stuff will be over.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. We each have to step into our own power.
What is Adam's take on where we are right now? Just seeing it from his perspective.
I
mean, he knows the struggle we're in.
He knows the struggle we're with it. And actually the struggle we're in is within.
Yeah.
Adjusting to change, adapting to change. Individual process. He's talking about it being an individual process as well as a collective. And each community is serving itself to its highest. This political rampage that's going on in the United States is going to get heated before it settles down. That will cause a lot of distress in many to stay above it and see it for what it is, not for what you want out of it, but see it for what it is. Because this is a deep reflection of the states in which we're in, a breaking down of systems. The political agenda that's on the table has always been on the table, but he's saying it was always under the tablecloth. And now it's being brought up. And the impact that the United States has on other countries versus the other countries on us. Is this a power struggle? We as a collective, this COVID is to bring us to a place of peace and harmony where we can be allies with countries that we may have not been in the past. It's to bring us into more of a community effort. And that's how technology has been able to help us in the past couple decades, is where we can help one another across the Atlantic Pacific, where we wouldn't have before. So this is all a spiral of us healing on a collective level, all our timelines, including the political agendas. We are not what our forefathers saw. We're in a different place. People are wanting to put everything in a compartment to make it fit. COVID is teaching us to be more mindful and focus on right now. What's going to help us now to move forward? It's bringing about new inventions, patents, entrepreneurship, and those who maybe have been suppressed in jobs or in families where they didn't feel they had any other options or opportunities. It's changing the school dynamics for those who felt mentally impaired in a group setting. So it's bringing about positive change for children to have a choice, working with their families, working with their school districts. It's giving complete independence for those who are used to working a 9 to 5 in a cubicle to make changes in their lifestyle, to spend more. They have the choice to spend more time at home, or maybe they want to go back to the cubicle, figuring out what they want. This will be options. There'll be a change in status across the board, whether it's the politicians, whether it's the athletes, whether it's the mega superstars, there'll be a change. The mega superstars are the ones that are in the grind coming out of the muck, like Carrie said, muck. They're the ones coming up and surfacing and sharing their feel-good stories, and how are they doing it differently. There you go.
Ding.
Thanks, Adam.
There you go.
Thank you.
So
No, I
we're
was
all going to do it differently, because if we keep doing it the same old way, we're not going to create change. We're going back and playing that same record. It's like that record, you know, that we had growing up that had a scratch on it. It would skip and it'd go play over, skip, play over, and you have to get up, move the needle. Well, I'm older than you guys, but
No,
same thing over and go, oh, I need to move it forward. Let me skip it to the next song. Forget that one. It's scratched. Nothing I can do about it. Let's play a new song, not the same old song.
So some things that I see that are interesting ripples. These large buildings downtown, people are moving out. Just people find that they really do want to live, or they want to live where they work, and then that will clean up because people aren't driving as much. Happens to the office space, but so that'll be interesting. Something I hadn't thought about, the toll roads. So the county pairs up with these companies and they build these toll roads. Well, people aren't using the toll roads. There's so many things that are just like I never think about, you know. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with
What
that.
I just heard too about some of our tall buildings downtown Houston, that this will be an opportunity to bring more people to live downtown. Let's change these over into more communities where they're walking distance, you know, to different things. Instead of having to commute, say, from the Woodlands to downtown, it's an opportunity to turn some of these buildings into living
communities. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Houston needs that, right? Because we built out. Houston built outward.
Yeah, you have to.
You know, versus Chicago or New York, we went out, and now it's like, wait, I gotta spend an hour to drive downtown to go to work. I can work from home, or maybe I want to live closer to work.
You know, it also another like side effect of the times, and because Adam touched on it, was how the technology changes things. And, you know, I like to make things all about me, but from my perspective, I was thinking that we could not have, I don't think that, because I always talk about my twin relationships. I actually have 4 that I can count. They're not all the romantic ones, but I couldn't have these relationships, these experiences with twins without the technology. Because for the most part, like I said, they're just representations of another experience entirely. So I'm doing all this inner work with these people that live in completely different continents. And I could not do that if not for the technology. So I had a thought the other day. I was like, I wonder if there's like twin flame stuff going on in like the 1700s. And how do you do that? Because you're living in the same town.
You're writing letters.
They're writing letters with a feather pen.
And they're going across on a boat. And then you wait a month to get a letter back.
Yeah, you can't do that. So if they were in the same town as me, the level of obsession, I would have gone over there 10,000 times and created things, you know.
Right. It was a very suppressed life.
So I wonder I don't wonder, I know, I believe wholeheartedly that the twin shit is happening now more than ever with all of the other crazy evolutionary stuff going on, you know, spiritually speaking. Right. So, because you just couldn't do this. I couldn't do this 100 years ago or whatever.
No, activations in all different ways. Yeah.
Well, okay. So parting words, advice of how to rise above it, how to rise above television, news, politics, COVID, fear.
Mm.
Sarah, go.
Okay. Advice. Advice. Feel it. This is from Adam. Feel it in your body. You know when it resonates. When it doesn't resonate, you've just got to quit putting your focus on it. Stop that focus. Stop that train so you can get ahead of the train. Because once you're in it, you're in it. You're in that train of thought. You're holding that pattern. So get out of that pattern of thought. Listen to your body. How does it feel in your body? Does it feel uplifting? Does it make you vibrate and feel, ooh, that feels good? Or it's like, ooh, that just feels off. I don't even want to go there. It doesn't mean you have to listen to that or be around that person. You have a personal choice, and this is your God-given right to feel free in your body. Okay, next.
I'm going to kind of second that. However, everything 100% yes, but just keep in mind to don't beat yourself up for when you do slip in those places, because they're necessary. We are here on a healing journey. So you have to be in those places. Where the choice lies, though, is to pull yourself back out. So don't be angry at yourself when you're feeling low. Realize it's part of your process, part of your evolution, and it will lift when that puzzle piece falls into place, or whatever it is. You will get there. That's mine.
Okay, mine is what they said, and being mindful of the stories that your mind is telling you. So like you said, Carrie, when there's any kind of disruption, you start filling in the unknown with your own stories, and it's often worst case scenario. So being mindful that our brain wants to do that to control and survive and manage, and being mindful that this could be the thing that you've asked for is on its way to you through this change. And if you're going to tell yourself a story, make it a beautiful story, make it a love story, make it a comedy. And that is just as powerful. And as we all know with the law of attraction, that's, even though it's a shitty situation that we're going through, you can turn it into gold. If that's your intention, if that's the energy that you take into it, the story that your mind is telling it. So being mindful of the dialogue, the energy of the dialogue is huge for me. And I, of course, tapping that emotion, the body, physical intensity, that's been my go-to tool to kind of feel it, manage it, forgive myself, and then choose this better feeling story.
I love it best. Okay, so mine is a practical one. Be mindful of what you put in your psyche. Be mindful of what you're craving. Be mindful of that. Number 2 is politics. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you are in that conversation with other people, or if you are engaged in the politics and because I'm always afraid it's going to get nasty. Listen, just stop and listen. Just listen. And everybody has a right to how they feel. And I think when we start warring with each other and calling each other names and not liking people because they voted for so-and-so versus so-and-so, just stop and listen. Because at the end of the day, we're all we have. It's sort of like our parents are trying to get divorced and the siblings are all we have. And so we're the siblings. So just stop and listen. We're not going to achieve anything by fighting. We haven't so far. So for me, I've just put it all down. I don't want it in my psyche. My head's not in the ground. This doesn't make sense. And I'm waiting for the next piece. I love it. That's great advice. I'm waiting for the next.
Wait for the next piece. There you go. That piece to fall in. I love that.
And I have to believe that things are divine. And it may, sort of that old, what was that parable, I guess, where the guy gets a horse. Oh, it's so great. It's so great. And then his son falls off the horse. Oh, it's so tragic. And he breaks his leg. So then the army comes and they want him to go to war. And they say, oh, you can't go because you broke your leg. And they're like, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. And the farmer kept saying, maybe, like he wouldn't attach to yes, it's good or bad. And I think it's that, things that, like Tiff said, things that look the worst, sometimes that's where the gold is. And so This,
Silver linings.
so look for the beauty, look for the shit, and you'll find it. So try to look for the beauty. So anyway, so that's
Amen.
our collective, man.
I love you guys. I love all your pretty sparkle, shiny attitudes. And I know
all
it's not
good.
always
It's
easy,
all
but we're
working
going
out
through
as
it
it should.
together.
Going through it together. And Carrie, how do we always end up wearing the same color?
Well, pink and pink.
Pinkies today.
Pinky carries.
I love you, ladies.
Love you too. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for listening to our stories today, everybody.
Where can they find everybody?
Oh, Doing Grief Differently with Adam and Sarah and sarahkajawa.com.
I got a Facebook page, Silver Lining. What is it? Silver Lining Energy. Yes. And then my website, silverlininghealings.com, but I'm very bad about that. There's some juicy stories though. Go read those. Oh, and I also have Stardust. What the fuck? I also have another show, Stardust. It's 2 words on YouTube, Stardust. And that's where we connect with ETs, and I love that thing. So we also have a group too, Stardust. If you want to join that, you have to answer the questions or we will ignore you because you might be a robot. Okay.
And we're joyrideshow.com and myuntappedpotential.com is where I do all my tapping.
Yes. All right.
And you, Carrie, you can advertise your Apple show.
Alice Eats the Apple.
.com Joyride Show. I mean, it's basically kind of two-winged bird. So, all right, guys. Love y'all.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.